Flight attendants voting almost unanimously to go on strike over low pay and risky work conditions, despite United profits going up more than 20%.
United's 28,000 flight attendants have been in mediation with the company.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg, and well, it's usually Ken and friends, but this morning one of my friends has to join me on the phone. As we've been talking about this morning, we have U.S. Senate candidate Mike Rogers, who will be joining us by the phone around 7:30 this morning. We were having some technical difficulties testing out the video stuff, so that's why they're going to be on the phone today. But regardless, it's going to be a fascinating interview, I tell you, for as long as we have him. He's on the campaign trail, so if you've ever dealt with candidates who are on the campaign trail, it's tough to pin them down for any duration of time because they have so many calls on their time. But we will talk to Mike Rogers this morning, ask him about the campaign. We've also extended the same offer to Alyssa Slotkin, the Democrat running in the race, and so hopefully we can line up that interview as well. We requested both of these interviews happen in the studio. Not sure if that's going to take place, but we'll leave the offer out there. All right, we've got to do news. We'll be right back.
Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
And good morning. Welcome to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. 65 degrees in Benton Harbor, 66 and cloudy skies in St. Joseph, and 63 degrees in Buchanan right now. With Labor Day weekend almost here, the Michigan Department of Transportation is doing its part to help make travel a little easier for everyone over the 3-day weekend. Spokesperson Nick Sharippa tells us they're getting a lot of the cones out of the way for that holiday travel. Well, okay, we'll hear from Nick Sharippa in a moment. We'll see what is going on with our sound there. Okay, I think we've got it fixed now. So anyway, we're talking about Labor Day and the construction, and spokesperson from MDOT, Nick Sharippa, tells us they're going to get most of the cones out of the way.
Aside from the ever-popular Labor Day holiday Mackinac Bridge Walk, between 3 p.m. Friday and 6 a.m. Tuesday, we are removing lane restrictions statewide on 96 out of 161 projects, so a little more than half.
Sharippa says there are some projects that cannot be suspended for the weekend, but where possible, MDOT is removing lane restrictions. So we asked, where will the closures remain?
I-94 near Stevensville in Berrien County, that big I-94 project. I-94 will have 2 lanes open in each direction, and westbound I-94 exit 23 on the Red Arrow Highway is closed and detoured.
So again, that area where you've seen a lot of traffic backups on I-94 around Stevensville and the surrounding area, that is probably still going to be a problem area this Labor Day weekend as travel begins. Sharippa says I-196 in Van Buren County will continue to have a lane closed between Hager Shores Road and County Road 378. Also, some of the M routes like M139 and M51 in Berrien County will continue to have restrictions in place. Sharippa urges drivers to give themselves plenty of time for the Labor Day travel, and he reminds them of the state's hands-free law. That means no holding cell phones while you're behind the wheel in traffic. It's just a no-brainer. Put down the cell phone, never touch it while you're driving. It's going to save a life one day. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and a local group is spreading the word that help is available. Berrien County Suicide Prevention Chair Brittany Frenchco said in the last few years, suicide in our area, the Southwest Michigan, has gone up at an alarming rate, nearly 30% in Berrien County alone. Frenchco says tackling the problem starts with raising awareness to the issue and then getting community involvement through various events, including the 5K run and walk that's coming back to Baroda this year on September 21st.
Obviously, our goal and what we're here to do is we want to see that number decrease, not increase. And so that's why it's just even more important for us as a coalition to keep doing what we're doing, but also, put our pedal to the metal. Even if it's not as big as a 5K, maybe it's give back nights at different restaurants or organizations, around the area. There's so many things we could do.
The group says this September they will continue to promote 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. 988 is the phone number people can call for immediate help, whether it's for yourself, your friends, or family. 988 provides free and confidential support for people in distress, plus prevention and crisis resources and best practices for friends, family, and professionals. That number again, 988. Lake Michigan College and the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber are teaming up for a boot camp. That is, they're offering a professional and soft skills boot camp next month. LMC Vice President of Enrollment, Marketing, and Government Relations, Al Pacholka, tells us the college and the chamber frequently hear from businesses and that employees are lacking in certain areas.
It is probably one of the biggest issues we hear about from employers about soft skills and how it's a significant challenge in the workplace. So we're talking about things like time management, communications, positive interaction with coworkers, strategies for handling conflict. These are all things that people need to brush up on, and they're skills that can really supercharge your career.
Pacholka says the September 23rd session will be an accelerated version of LMC's business professionalism class that can better prepare workers for new positions or career changes. Those who attend will receive a copy of the book, The Hard Truth About Soft Skills, as well as a catered lunch. The session will be all day on the 23rd at the Todd Center at Lake Michigan College. There's a cost to attend. We have a link for more information at our website, WSJM.com. Indiana Michigan Power has enlisted employees from Rockport, Indiana to Bridgman, Michigan. As part of a clothing drive to help veterans, I&M Distribution System Manager Jesse Lafamboy tells us that throughout July, the month of July, the I&M staff were asked to donate clothing and toiletries for Clothes for Joe's. Clothes for Joe's, a nonprofit in Fort Wayne. He says Clothes for Joe's operates a shop for those in need.
What they do within the community is not only supplying clothes to those in need as far as veterans are concerned, but also supplying them with a lot of other things as far as toiletries and things like that.
The I&M Military Veterans Employees Resource Group asked company employees to contribute what they could, and the employees, they say, came through. Laframboy says after 31 days of collection, donations began returning to the Northeast Service Center to be sorted and delivered to the Clothes for Joe's building. I&M staff then volunteered their time to help distribute the items through their organization.
We got enough items, she said, to probably keep them stocked for 3 months.
Laframboy says the I&M team really came through to show their support for those who need a little help getting the kinds of things they need that most of us take for granted. Clothes for Joe's was awarded the AEP Caring Together grant, which provided additional funds for the team to purchase even more items. He says the drive went so well that they may do it again next year. And speaking of I&M, power crews from Indiana Michigan Power are still working to restore power in the southwest corner of Berrien County. In the area around Union Pier, more than 1,300 customers are still without electricity this morning. Tuesday's storms, they came overnight where they ripped through the area, bringing winds reportedly in excess of 70 miles per hour, toppling trees, ripping down some power lines. There was significant damage reported to some homes in the area. You've probably seen some of that on social media. Across Michigan, more than 300,000 customers were without power, primarily in the central and southeastern Michigan area. Crews hope to have 90% of power outages repaired today. No, thankfully, no injuries reported in our area due to that. It's 7:10. You're listening to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. We'll have Always Learning with Barry and Risa. That's coming up in a few minutes. Also, our guest this morning, joining us probably around 7:30 this morning, we hope, maybe a couple minutes early, we'll see, is the candidate for United States Senate on the Republican side of the aisle, Mike Rogers. So we'll have a good conversation with him. That's coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
In Major League Baseball, Spencer Torkelson hit a 2-run home run in the second inning, and Kerry Carpenter added an RBI single in the third to lead Detroit to a 3-2 win over the LA Angels. The Tigers have now won 6 straight and are 2 games over 500.
And good morning. Welcome back to the WSJM Morning Show video live stream. I'm Ken Lundberg. Typically, I have a friend right next to me. Today, I do not, because we wanted to get an interview in, and we understand that candidates and campaigns are very busy. And so we said, yeah, you can join us on the phone. And they said, okay, we'll join you by the phone. Can we join you at 7:30? Said, okay, fine. You can join us at 7:30. So between now and then, you just have me to entertain you. And we'll talk about some things, but I'll check in on the video comments as well if there's anything that you want to talk about. One of the things that's been in the news this morning, or actually this week, that continues to evolve, including this morning, is Telegram. Now, I've not used this service, this app. It's a messaging app, but it's called Telegram. And French authorities handed preliminary charges to the CEO of Telegram. His name's Pavel Durov. They handed him preliminary charges yesterday for allowing alleged criminal activity on his messaging app, and he has been barred from leaving France pending further investigation. Now, people are in uproar over this because this is similar to a lot of the other things that we've seen, where there is a social media platform out there that's made available to do connections with friends, family, strangers, whomever, people of like interests, where you form community groups, a lot like what Facebook does, and the other networks, social media networks. But this one is being free speech advocates say persecuted. Authoritarian governments have spoken in Durov's defense since his weekend arrest. The case has also called attention to the challenges of policing illegal activity online. Durov was detained Saturday at an airport in Paris as part of a sweeping investigation that was opened earlier this year. He was released earlier Wednesday after 4 days of questioning. So the CEO of the company held for 4 days questioning. Investigative judges filed preliminary charges last night and ordered him to pay 5 million euros bail. Don't know how much that converts into exactly right now, but that's a lot, 5 million euros. And to report to a police station twice a week. That's according to a statement from the Paris prosecutor's office. Allegations against Durov, who's also a French citizen, include that his platform is being used for child sexual abuse material and drug trafficking, and that Telegram refused to share information or documents with investigators when required by law. That's probably what got him in trouble. I know Facebook does share information with government entities to help stem crime like that, including human trafficking. They meet with government officials, especially around some of the big events that happen in the United States where a lot of human trafficking occurs, including things like sports playoffs, the Super Bowl, the Final Four, those kinds of things. That's when you see a lot of human trafficking. A lot of it centered around drugs and prostitution increases, and the social media platforms are a lot of the messaging platforms. That's where those things happen. That's where the connections, the advertisements are made. And so Facebook is one, and I'm sure there are others that regularly meet with Department of Homeland Security and others to share that information, to say, here's what's happening, here's where you can go. Doesn't look like Telegram was doing that. So the CEO was arrested, questioned for 4 days, released on 5 million euro bail. The first preliminary charge against him was for complicity in managing an online platform to allow illicit transactions by an organized group, a crime that can lead to sentences of up to 10 years in prison and €500,000 fine. Preliminary charges under French law mean magistrates have strong reason to believe a crime was committed, but they're allowing more time for further investigation. So it kind of sounds like a half an indictment. You know how here it's you can indict a ham sandwich. That's the old saying. There it sounds like you can indict the bread. French authorities opened the preliminary investigation in February in response to the near total absence of a response by Telegram to judicial requests for data pursuing suspects. Yeah, is that a phone call? What do we got there? Nope. Okay, thought we had a phone call. French authorities opened the investigation in February because of the near total absence of a response by Telegram to judicial requests for data pursuing suspects, notably those accused of crimes against children. That's according to the prosecutor's office. Durov's arrest in France has caused outrage in some countries, including Russia, with some government officials calling it politically motivated and proof of the West's double standard on freedom of speech. So, yeah, I mean, I can see their point, but, and it's getting increasingly complicated because I just mentioned Facebook helps out in a lot of those things. Sometimes maybe they help too much when they censored content related to COVID and the pandemic, which we talked about in a news story earlier this week. So it's a fine line between the public and private entities. But clearly we're not dealing with United States law here. They're over in France. And you've got a Russian involved in it. So you know that that complicates things, at least politically. Other things that we're talking about today, the FBI. The FBI has revealed new details from its investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. They had a call with media yesterday, walking through some of their findings, including that the shooter engaged in detailed attack planning well in advance of the rally. But more than 6 weeks after the attack, investigators still have not uncovered a clear motive. What is it? Occam's razor. The simplest solution or simplest answer is probably the most obvious thing is probably the right one. I mean, look, you had somebody who was, at least from the profile, it seems like he was picked on when he was in school, kind of became a loner. One of the things that really hurt his pride was he was kicked out of the shooting club because he was horrible. Well, looks like he took a crime of opportunity there. The investigators found a search from, so the FBI has done an extensive analysis of Crook's online search history and activity. That's according to Kevin Rojek, a special agent in charge of the FBI's Pittsburgh field office, who was on that call with media. That has provided some valuable insight into his mindset, but not a definitive motive. Investigators found a search from Crook's account in late September of 2023 of Trump's campaign schedule and upcoming Pennsylvania appearances. Trump does not appear to have been the only potential target. The FBI agent said between April and July of 2024, Crooks searched campaign events for both Trump and President Joe Biden, including events that were scheduled to happen in Western Pennsylvania. The Bureau uncovered searches for July 5th for when is the DNC convention, and another search, when is the RNC convention in 2024? Apparent references to the Democrat and Republican national conventions. In the 30 days before the attack, Crooks conducted more than 60 searches related to either Biden or Trump. He also looked for stuff including detonating cord, blasting cap, how to make a bomb. He had started those searches as early as 2019. Crooks' search history suggests for sure, according to the FBI, that he may have been considering a violent attack for several years. So there's that one. Let's see. There's a Sarah Palin lawsuit that we'll talk about in just a moment. Let's see if we have any comments here. Oh, look at that. My friends are here. Bill says, good morning, Ken. Good morning, Bill. John says, good morning, one and all. Good morning to you, John, as well. Let's see. Then Bill says, good morning, John. Teresa says, good morning, Ken. Thank you, Teresa. Good to see you again. And some other good mornings. Yes. So good morning. It's good to see you. Let's see what else we have going on here this morning. So yes, if any of you were affected by any of the damage that happened in the southwestern part of our county, Berrien County, or over in Cass County, I don't think much of it happened in Cass County. I could be wrong. But it looked like that swath really hit hard in that Michigan, Indiana area, starting at Michiana, going up to Lakeside, and hitting over at Union Pier, as well as Three Oaks, Galeen, and Chickaming. So a lot of those areas hard hit, but Union Pier is where a lot of the crews are focusing their energy today, as they still have 1,300 customers without power. So if you saw or suffered any of that damage, let us know. And also the Berrien County Emergency Services folks want you to let them know as well. They've put a form out, and we've put it up on our website, WSJM.com, so that if there's additional stuff that down power lines or down trees on the roadways or some kind of infrastructure broken, let them know so that they can prioritize it. It may already be on their list to give attention to, but they are triaging that kind of damage so that they better know what to go after and what to fix and what all's out there that needs to be taken care of. It doesn't sound like the National Weather Service is going to send anybody out to take a look and see if there was a tornado. I saw some talk on social media that somebody said, oh, well, we think there was a tornado. Well, there were strong winds, that's for sure, up to 70 miles per hour, but none of what we have seen so far has indicated anything beyond that. But we'll keep checking just to make sure. All right, so the Sarah Palin lawsuit. Remember Sarah Palin? 2 years after Sarah Palin lost her defamation lawsuit against the New York Times, the former vice presidential candidate has been granted a new trial. That's what a federal appeals court ruled yesterday. In 2022, a New York jury found Palin had not proved the Times and its editorial page editor, James Bennett, were liable for defaming her after the newspaper published an editorial that erroneously linked a map that Palin's Political Action Committee had posted to a 2011 shooting that injured former Representative Gabrielle Giffords. The editorial in question was published on the day of the shooting at a baseball practice in Washington, D.C. that injured Representative Steve Scalise. It was meant to address heated political rhetoric ahead of the shooting, but in making its point, the Times erroneously said that there was a clear link between a map that Palin's PAC had posted that included crosshairs over congressional districts, including Giffords. Bennett testified that he added language about there being a clear link between the two, and once he realized his error, he quickly issued a correction. So the editorial writer said, well, she's putting out campaign literature with crosshairs on it and maps and stuff like that. This is it. She told them what to do. Well, then he had to issue a correction. And the New York Times does not issue corrections very often. Well, anyway, not this kind. Palin sued the Times, but a jury in 2022 found that Palin did not prove actual malice, the legal standard that Palin had to meet in her defamation case because she's a public figure. But during deliberations, Judge Jed Rakoff ruled that Palin's attorneys did not prove a key element of their case and that he would have to set aside the jury's verdict should it have found for Palin. Palin appealed and saying that the judge improperly intruded on the province of the jury by making credible determinations, weighing evidence, and ignoring facts or inferences that a reasonable juror could plausibly have found to support Palin's case. The appeals court found several major issues at trial, and so they said, well, this can go forward. Governor Palin, a statement from her side, said she's very happy with today's decision, which is a significant step forward in the process of holding publishers accountable for content that misleads readers and the public in general. Her attorney, Shane Voigt, said, the truth deserves a level playing field, and Governor Palin looks forward to presenting her case to a jury that is provided with relevant proffered evidence and properly instructed on the law as set forth in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals opinion. A spokesperson for the New York Times called the decision disappointing, and they said, we're confident we'll prevail in retrial. So that's fun. I still remember the day when I learned that Sarah Palin would be John McCain's running mate. I think it was August, because I know I was on the golf course out in Washington, D.C. I was at Haynes Point, which is kind of a cow pasture as far as golf courses go, which means it's flat and it has kind of ruddy divots in it all over the place. But I was on the golf course, and my boss at the time, U.S. Senator Mel Martinez, called me and said, hey, did you hear who John McCain has picked as his running mate? And I thought, oh, no, it's not you, is it? And he said, no, it's Sarah Palin from Alaska. So that was interesting news. We had more to say about that, but I can't share it here. All right. There is a plane found in Lake Huron. Searchers discovered a small plane that crashed in Michigan's Lake Huron 17 years ago. That's fascinating. As well as the remains of a long missing passenger. That's according to state police as of yesterday. We should talk about that. I do have a phone call, I believe, that will be coming in shortly, so I may have to go. I know we've got some news and weather to get to, but let's talk about this for a couple minutes. Excuse me. The remains of the passenger were identified as Brooke Stauffer Jr., H. Brooke Stauffer Jr., 56, who lived in Washington, D.C. He was a passenger in a plane that had departed Mackinac Island for a small town in Michigan's Lower Peninsula in August of 2007. Stauffer and the pilot, his fiancée, Karen Dodds, were in a small plane, a TB-20 Trinidad, when the plane disappeared. Her remains were found 2 months after the crash east of Mackinac Bridge, but there were no signs of the plane or of Stauffer. In October 2023, Great Lakes Search and Recovery, a private company, resumed the search efforts at the request of family members. That's according to state police. In August of 24, members of the search team discovered plane wreckage near Point Blank Island. The state police divers subsequently found skeletal remains, and the Center for Forensic Anthropology at Northern Michigan University confirmed Stauffer's identity with help from dental records. Stauffer was the director of standards and safety for the National Electrical Contractors Association. His obituary said he was a prolific writer and the author of several technical books, numerous magazine articles, a children's novel, and a guidebook for Washington, D.C. Dodds, who was 52, had her own business, Dodds Design, which was a graphic web design and marketing company, also in Washington, D.C. So again, wow, 17-year-old plane crash victim recovered from Lake Huron. Okay, we've got more to talk about, and I'll be looking for that phone call from Mike Rogers. He's a candidate for U.S. Senate. It's coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Stay tuned. Sorry about that. I forgot to push a button there, but this gives me an opportunity. I see Bill's comment here that there was a commercial plane that crashed just off Benton Harbor in Lake Michigan that is yet to be found, and it was on the History Channel. Yes, in fact, we had somebody call us about that, a gentleman from Florida who said he thought he knew where it was. He thought it was directly off South Haven. He said it wasn't by Benton Harbor, it was by South Haven. So unclear. Because it's been so long. I think it's a very long time, but it was a huge commercial plane. We'll have to talk about that on the show at some point. Thanks for bringing that up, Bill. All right, more in a moment.
Check the gift box icon and we'll send you a giftable certificate. Save money and time with a little help from your Big Deal store.
Don't wait. Go to BigDealsSWMI.com today.
Who do you call when you have the most unique towing job ever? Well, when the Neon Grill wanted to take down the classic Chevy from their roof for restoration, they called Hassey's Towing and Crane Service. They trusted Hassey's to handle it. Hassey's Towing and Crane Service has the area's largest fleet of tow vehicles and cranes to accomplish almost any lifting job. Got a unique tow or lift job? Call Hassey's Towing and Crane Service, 927-3681. Hassey's Towing, the trucks with the red, white, and blue.
The Bloomberg Business Minute on WSJM is brought to you by Sturgis Bank and Trust. Let's grow together. Serving Berrien Branch, Kalamazoo, St. Joseph, and Van Buren counties. Now with 2 new locations in St. Joseph, downtown, and on Cleveland Avenue. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Well, if you were hoping for a blowout quarter from NVIDIA, you didn't get it. The chipmaker and AI tech darling of Wall Street did beat estimates on nearly every measure, but not by enough to please some investors. And NVIDIA also talking about production snags with its Blackwell chips. More trouble in retail. Sources say Big Lots considering bankruptcy after a sales slump. And the discount chain may seek court protection within weeks. You know how compelling it was just a few days ago to watch that Florida youth baseball team beat Taiwan in the Little League World Series, and how heartbreaking to see Taiwan's players crying about the shock of losing on a bunt. Well, now big money, private equity, getting in on the action. action in a wave of mergers and acquisitions in youth sports. And now you can live in a Barbie world. HMD and Mattel unveiling a Barbie flip phone without internet. The retro device features a lot of pink and is designed to help you cut down on screen time and focus on the true Barbie lifestyle. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
All right. Well, good morning and welcome back to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. And on the phone this morning, our guest is none other than a candidate for the United States Senate, Mike Rogers. He's a former member of Congress, a former FBI agent, which just fascinates me that there's a former FBI agent running against a former CIA analyst for U.S. Senate in Michigan. Good morning, Mr. Rogers.
Hey, Ken, it's always good to be here. And you always go with the truth tellers, those FBI guys. Those are always the guys.
Is that in the community? Is that what it is? The CIA is like, well, you never know. But the FBI.
Well, you think about it, the CIA is taught to mislead and deceive, and the FBI is there to discover the truth. So I say go with the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for taking some time to join us this morning. We appreciate you, and you're running for United States Senate for the Mitten State. For those who don't know who Mike Rogers is, you're a Republican. You were in Congress in the U.S. House of Representatives, but tell people who you are and what you stand for and why you want their vote.
Yeah, thanks so much. Listen, this is going to be a tale of two candidates, really. I was born and raised in Michigan, the youngest of 5 boys. My dad was a shop teacher, and then later in his career became a vice principal right before he retired. But we he didn't give us riches, but he certainly gave us the foundation for hard work and faith and being independent, and the notion that meritocracy wins the day. And so great tools to get out in life. I went on to Adrian College at the same time. I went to University of Michigan, where I got my ROTC training and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army. So when I graduated, I went to serve at Fort Ord, California with the 7th Infantry Division as an ordnance officer. Then went into the FBI. There's 2 things I wanted to do, Ken. I wanted to catch spies, Soviet spies, or I wanted to chase gangsters. And so I did well enough at the academy that I got sent to Chicago to catch gangsters. And I tell you what, it was fascinating. I really enjoyed that time I was there as an FBI agent. We were doing real work on murders and bombings and extortions and corruption. I mean, this was the heyday of the mob for sure.
Yeah.
And then I decided to do the proactive thing and got into politics. And because of all my national security background, was on the Intelligence Committee from 2004 to 2014, and then became chairman the last 4 years. So really an important time in America's history. And I took that job very, very seriously and showed that you can actually get along with the other team and get some things done without sacrificing your principles and actually accomplishing something. And so we were able to do all of that. And then I just thought, hey, you're not supposed to be here for 20 years in the same job. So I decided to go out and did a couple of things. I did a little bit of radio, as you might remember.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was in cybersecurity. And I figured this is a great way for me still to protect people's networks and kind of still be in the national security space.
Yeah.
Because we were protecting from China and Russia and organized crime groups around the world, trying to break in your computer networks and either steal your money or steal your IDs or steal both.
The cybersecurity stuff, that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yeah, it's getting worse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It is getting worse. And when I got out, the industry was it was kind of still nascent.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had a lot of these companies making a lot of promises to companies that they could protect them. And boy, when I got in there, I said, no, I understand exactly how this stuff works. And that's just not true. You're going to have to layer your defenses. We're going to have to go to a collaborative defense type thing. And it's probably more than your listeners want to know, but we still have a ways to go to try to keep up with the bad guys. And AI is making it harder. It's because they're using AI to kind of outpace your defense the defenses in your network. So it's the fight is on. I tell people we are in a cyber war and have been for 15 years, and just most Americans don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about all those things that you've talked about in your career, from handling organized and violent crime, talking about the intelligence issues, talking about cybersecurity. All of those things are still in the headlines today. And so I imagine you're probably ready to take on those issues in the Senate. What are you hearing from constituents when you're out there on the campaign trail? What are they concerned about right now?
You know, Ken, they want normal back. They want a secure border. They don't want crime imported across the border into their neighborhoods. We lost 3,000 Michigan citizens last year to fentanyl, and that's all because of an open border. We had the rape of a minor girl here in Oakland County, Michigan, not that long ago. And then same week, someone exposed, an illegal immigrant exposed himself to a 9-year-old girl. And as a law enforcement guy, I can tell you, he has either already committed a sexual assault somewhere, or he is on his way to commit a sexual assault. He had been deported 7 times. They just want an end to that. They know there's a way to close it. They know that this doesn't have to be, and we don't have to invite this trouble to our neighborhoods in the way they've done it. And then they want cost of goods and services. Listen, people are getting crushed. I talked to a mother the other day of 4 kids. I was just asking her, hey, what keeps you up at night? And she just loses it. She just really loses it, just sobbing. And she's saying, listen, I work part-time. My husband works full-time. He works at a factory. We have to go to the food pantry the last 2 or 3 days of the month now, where we never had to do that. I don't want to do that. She was kind of embarrassed she had to do that. And it's just getting really, really hard out there for these people. So when the Democrats talk about joy and vibes and no, really everything's better, you just don't know it. I'm telling you, if you're grocery shopping or you're putting gas in your car, you know it.
Yeah. I mean, the prices, they keep saying inflation is coming down and they're ready to cut interest rates, surprisingly right before the election. And, you don't feel it when you go to the grocery store.
No, you don't, because it's even though it's down, it's a third higher than it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it's 30% higher than what we would consider normal, on top of the 20 and 25% more you're paying. So it's not, when they say it's going down, people think, well, wait a minute, my eggs didn't go down. They actually went up a little bit. Well, that's because they're mixing. This is what drives me crazy, Ken. There's just this long deception campaign from every level of Democrat in the last 4 years. President Biden is great. He's the sharpest, the fittest. He's all together with it. And I can't believe that you all would, question his ability to be in charge. The debate, I think, exposed that. Then they went, well, he's got to go. And you know who is the sharpest and the best they've ever been is Kamala Harris. My opponent does the same thing. They're distorting their record. They act like they haven't been in charge for the last 4 years and brought all this misery to our doorsteps and to our kitchen tables. And they have, and people know it. And then the big government policy things, EV mandates, I have to tell you, might not be big everywhere, but it sure is big here. It is, 2,400 layoffs at Stellantis, 1,000 at General Motors. And for those of you who've thought about the second and third order effects of mandating you have to buy a car you don't want to buy, it's having tremendous negative impacts here. And the Democrats just whistling past the graveyard. It just confounds me why anyone would reward the Democrats after the last 4 years.
We're talking with former U.S. Representative Mike Rogers from the state of Michigan. He's running for U.S. Senate to take the seat from retiring Debbie Stabenow, who's in the Senate currently. He's running against Elissa Slotkin. We've also offered a position to interview here on the radio station with Elissa Slotkin. But Mr. Rogers, you mentioned Kamala Harris. You mentioned the presidential race. How do you? What's your view on how that whole race has shaped up? Where you had current President Biden, Joe Biden, former candidate now, all of a sudden say, I'm too old, I can't do it. And then Kamala Harris coming in and taking the nomination without any kind of stealing process at all, without any kind of going through the primaries, going through the questions from journalists, et cetera.
I mean, it's like a bad Hollywood movie. If she wins, I don't think we're going to like the ending very much. They've just crafted this image. If you recall, they were talking about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago now, that they were going to have to take Kamala Harris off of the ticket because she was dragging down Biden. And boy, that was all the media talk. She's going to be off the ticket. They're going to try to find someone else to be on the ticket.
Right.
And remember this, and then all of a sudden, nope, she's the greatest thing ever, and he's no good. We got to get rid of him. I worry that this has been foisted on the American people without vetting. She won't go to have press conferences. She won't talk to people. Her aides are leaking policy proposals like, oh, now she's for the wall. She said the wall was racist not that long ago. Now she's for the wall. I mean, I hope people see through this, but I'm afraid, people are busy. Their prices are high, and I don't know if they're paying much attention to it. It's a little bit terrifying to me that they're even going to put someone on the ballot who has performed so badly, who has caused so many problems in our economy, who has made our kitchen table experience pretty awful in the last 4 years. And they're tied right now going into the general election. And certainly my opponent has been a part of all of that. And they do crazy things. My opponent signed a non-disclosure agreement with a Chinese Communist Party country through the MEDC of Michigan to give them $175 million in cash. And there's prizes. There's cash and prizes. They get about another, $800 million in tax credits for a company that's tied to China to build an electric vehicle. And this is all wrapped together. They tell you have to drive an electric vehicle by a certain date, that you're going to have to buy one. They tell the car companies you have to build them. And then they couldn't figure out how they got the battery production done, because 85% of all the critical minerals are processed in China. And so they cooked up this deal, signed a non-disclosure agreement. That ought to be disqualifying to any member looking to go serve in the legislature. If you don't understand that you have an obligation to be transparent, I don't think you deserve to get promoted. But what they did is they gave all that money to a company that came out in their incorporation papers are tied to the Communist Party of China in our backyard. The community doesn't want it. It's pretty dangerous to build them there. The fire department can't put lithium out if it burns. I mean, this thing is as bad as you think it is. And man, they're all hiding under desks. They don't want to talk about it. They don't do press conferences. They won't go out anywhere. They have tons of money. They're just running negative TV ads. It's really quite shocking to me that the Americans aren't more or less, and we're not putting up with this. We're having great conversations around the state. I think people are moving over like, hey, I'm not even a Republican or a Democrat, but I'm voting Republican this year because I can't afford my eggs. I think there's something happening.
Yeah, we're talking with former U.S. Representative Mike Rogers. He's running for the U.S. Senate as a Republican against Alyssa Slotkin. Senator, if you get into the Senate, let's ask this. If you get into the Senate, Mr. Rogers, what is your agenda? What will you do there, and how will it help Michigan?
Yeah, first and foremost, we got to close the border. We have to secure the border. I would actually confront the cartels right away. It's causing a whole host of problems. One, these organized crime elements have come across the southern border, set up shop here. That's bringing crime to our communities. Sexual trafficking is as high as it's ever been, if you can imagine that, in 2024. The drug trade is just flourishing. Human trafficking for wages that go back to the cartels is huge. And what they're doing, by the way, is sending somebody up, showing them pictures of their family, say, if you don't send back 25% of your salary, I'll kill your family. I mean, we have allowed this thing to burn out of control because of no weak policy. So we close that. We're going to cut regulation. We're going to make us energy independent right away, which is something we can turn pretty quickly to keep that money in the United States to help our economy, bring down our gas prices. And bringing down gas prices means your food prices are right behind that going down. And the regulatory burden, think of this. 4 things, these big 4 things just happened. This is the first time in the history of our country, Ken, that we had to import more food than we export in America, the United States of America. And it's because of all these crazy policies and regulations coming out of Washington, D.C. And so we got to change that. There's more foreign cars built in America in the last 4 years than there is domestic cars. The interest payment on our national debt is now higher than the Department of Defense, and our reading scores are as low as they have been since 1971. I want to fix all of it. So those first big three things we got to do is secure that border, open up energy and energy independence here in the United States to keep that money here. We should never send it overseas to people who don't like us very much. Get after this regulatory regime. Make sure those tax cuts don't get increased. They're talking about a $5 trillion tax increase. And by the way, don't believe it when they say, "Oh, if you're making over 400, it affects you. You make under 400, it doesn't affect." That's just simply not true. And I think voters know that because they've been carrying the weight of these dumb ideas for years. So a lot to do and a lot to do right when we get there. And I'm going to end those EV mandates.
Last question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir.
Can I just say this? So for those are saying, yeah, but what about the carbon? Okay. 500 pounds of critical minerals makes one electric vehicle, takes 4 tons of carbon out of the air. 85% of that car has to be processed in China. That same 500 pounds makes 90 hybrid cars. It takes 140 tons of carbon out of the air. And by the way, we get to keep UAW jobs and auto worker jobs here in Michigan, in Ohio and Indiana for that matter. And so there's a better way to do this. And they are really destroying the American auto industry by their crazy EV mandates. So I'll end that too.
We're talking here with former U.S. Representative Mike Rogers, former FBI agent as well, and current U.S. Senate candidate for the seat that's being vacated by retiring Debbie Stabenow. Last question for you. Are we going to see you in debates with Ms. Slotkin?
Yeah, we want more. She said she only wants to do 2. We want to do more than that. So we're hoping that she shows up. We're very eager to get this going. I mean, the ad campaign has been dishonest, is being very generous. And so I think the reason they do that is they have all of these problems they can't talk about. The only way that we'll get a chance, because George Soros is pouring money into this race. The Hollywood crowd is pouring money. San Francisco's pouring money. New York City's pouring money in here. The only way we get a chance to set those records straight is through a debate. So we're eager to do as many as we can.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you for joining us this morning. That's Mike Rogers. He's a former United States representative and currently a candidate for the Republican U.S. Senate candidacy there. Anything else before we let you go?
Hey, I think we're going to do it. Listen, I believe that we're going to have the backs of our police officers, of our auto workers, of moms who are struggling to pay their bill. You vote Mike Rogers, you vote Republicans in the fall. We're going to have your back.
All right, Mr. Rogers, we appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Okay, that was former U.S. Representative Mike Rogers joining us in the WSJM Morning Show. We appreciate that. We've also offered the same invitation to Representative Alyssa Slotkin, and so hopefully she'll join us for a similar type of interview. At 7:48, you're listening to the WSJM Morning Show.
Hey there, it's Johnny, and I want to tell you about my friends at Renaissance Athletic Club. They're always looking out for you, and with summer winding down, they want you to get a group together and join them for their group fitness classes. You can enjoy unlimited classes now and pay no dues until September. Group classes are experiences that are created and taught by talented.
Oh my goodness, that was a long interview. No, that was good. No, that was very good. It was long only in that I'm looking at my commercial breaks that I've got to get in before the top of the hour, and I'm going to have to move some stuff around. But that's okay. It was good to have one of the candidates on. Again, we did extend the same offer to Alyssa Slotkin's office, and we hope that we'll be able to have that interview as well soon. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. And again, full disclosure, I worked in the office, in the Cannon House office building. And when I did, I worked in the office right next door to Congressman Mike Rogers' office. I was the communications director for a member of Congress from Florida at the time. And his press secretary and me, we often collaborated on other stuff that was going on. So it was just interesting how small the world is. All right. Well, we've got more to talk about in the WSJM Morning Show. Let me get caught up here on commercials and a couple of the segments that we do have. Do I have Tech Trends ready? Let's see here. Oh, it looks like it's ready. Okay. We'll see if we can squeeze ABC Tech Trends in, because they do a good job on that stuff. Tomorrow, we'll have the Flick Pick from Andrew Green. Not only is Andrew a great news person, but he also does, he's a movie fanatic, and he loves to go see movies. And so he's got his new movie review in for the remake of The Crow. And I'll be interested to hear what he had to say. I didn't watch The Crow, the original Crow, until recently. And I thought the original Crow was good. I'm not sure why they remade it, but they did. So we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Visit Sturgis.bank to learn more. Qualifications, rules, and limitations apply. Rates, rewards, and restrictions may vary by account. Contact Sturgis Bank for details. Member FDIC.
Partly sunny, hot, and humid again today. Temperatures getting up around 85 degrees. We'll stay around 80 near the lakeshore. Winds will stay light. Partly cloudy tonight, down to 68. Still muggy as we head into tomorrow as well. We'll see a little sun in the morning, becoming mostly cloudy. Showers and thunderstorms Friday afternoon and evening. High temperatures in the middle 80s. I'm meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us. It is the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. 7:52, just 8 minutes away from 8 o'clock. We'll have more from ABC News. Want to thank Mike Rogers for joining us. He's the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, the seat that's being vacated by retiring U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow. His opponent is a Democrat, Alyssa Slotkin. And so we'd love to have Ms. Slotkin on the radio as well. We've extended that invitation, and we expect that'll be arranged sometime in the near future. We invite the candidates to stop by the studio as well anytime that they're in the area so that we can have a good chat with them and offer them some coffee. It's time for the Moody on the Market update. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today. They are your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And this morning, some sad news. The matriarch of Kilwins St. Joseph, Janet Dykstra, has passed away. One of the downtown St. Joseph's best known and best loved business leaders and boosters. Janet is the longtime co-owner of Kilwins Ice Cream Shop. She passed away, as we learned in a post from her friends at the Southwest Michigan Tourist Council. They posted that they are deeply saddened to share the news of the passing of Janet Dykstra, the beloved former co-owner of Kilwins in downtown St. Joseph for 25 years. They say Janet's passion for our community and her commitment to Kilwins made it a beloved local institution. Her store was even featured in the Pure Michigan commercial for St. Joseph, showcasing the charm and sweetness of our city. We will miss her warm smile, her kind heart, and her dedication to our community. The current owners of Kilwins who took over from the Dykstras added their feelings of loss of the woman who was still the face of Kilwins even after the sale of the store. They said that Kilwins St. Joseph lost the former owner. Her and her husband, Phil, ran our store for 25 years. Her love for family, her employees, and community was unmatched in her dedication and love for all. She was and still is the driving force in our success. She made our store the gold standard for every Kilwins. Our love goes out to her husband, Phil, sons Rick and Sean, and daughters Tammy and Tracy, and all her extended family. Godspeed, Janet. So you can read that full article. It's posted there at moodyonthemarket.com. Our condolences and thoughts and prayers as well for the family. The Moody on the Market update is brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And when you walk in that store, oh my goodness, it's not just the history, but you do get the smell of some wonderful stuff going on in there. So for bringing so much joy and so many smiles to our area, we thank you. It's 7:54, almost 7:55. We got a couple more things to get to here before news, so let's do that right now. It is the WSJM Morning Show.
These days, we all want our money to go just a little.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the video live stream today. It was a fast one again, and let's see, fun comments this morning. By the way, thank you for that. Let's see, Bill. No, let's see. Oh, let's see. Lydia softly said "wah," just said "wah." Maybe she accidentally punched a key or two. Teresa says, "Why did summer go? Why did summer go?" Well. I thought, well, you could say, where did summer go as well? But why did summer go? It shouldn't go. Bill said, it always goes so fast when we're having fun. This has been a hard year for you. Oh, sorry, Bill. At least this year, at least this summer, I got the chance to meet you in person, so that was fun. I consider that one of my high points of the year. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, in the 50s, very long time ago. A triangle. Diane says she's seen articles stating that there's a triangle in Lake Michigan. I got to do some commercials here. Let's pull that one forward to there. Okay. All right, I got to get back to that. Oh, that's so sad. She and my mom, I think you're talking about Janet, were really good friends. She would come into my mom's store all the time and favorite things. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Love Kilwins for everything they represent for the community. It's been really good. All right, we'll wrap up the video live stream here because I got to get some commercials in order. But thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you, and we'll be back tomorrow. We'll bring Brett back in, and he's going to talk nothing but football, but I'll try to rein him in a little bit. We'll talk football because it's due, but we'll see. All right, thanks. Bye.